Well, we are starting a little late tonight, but it's all good. We, of course, Nick Gibbs is here with us. Nicholas Gibbs, you have, I think people have been thinking about you even if they don't know it, because we've had this whole thing the last couple of days, with some Chinese company who, came on the scene and there's been, Nvidia falling through the floor and then bouncing back almost all the way today. Crazy, crazy week. People thought it was impacting Tesla. I don't think much of what happened to Tesla the last 2 days had anything to do with Nvidia, just the regular machinations going into earnings. But what did you think about the entire keeps what's the name? I keep forgetting.
DeepSeek.
DeepSeek. That's it. Yeah, yeah, there it is. All right.
It's funny you asked that. Oh, maybe it's not funny. I guess I should have anticipated that you were going to ask this question today. I've been very quiet on X. I've made a couple remarks, which you could read between the lines. I guess some of them might have been a little more pointed. You can go see what I'm talking about if you want. But what do I think? Randy, you're gonna have to funnel me in more because
Okay,
otherwise I'm gonna
I'll
start
follow you. I'll
ranting.
follow you in a little bit.
I,
Okay, I'll
I
tell
have a
you.
lot of thoughts.
So I've spent the last 24 hours, I mean, literally on the phone with Brian Wong, back and forth, interviewing Larry Goldberg last night, another expert, reading, paid, hours and hours and hours, listening to videos, because this is not my area of expertise by a long shot. And so as I watched all this stuff, and all I can do is try to get as much of this stuff in my brain and then try to figure out where things are going. By last night, I made two comments, and we'll see what you think about my two comments. I said, it looks to me like this thing is going to blow over. It looks to me like it is not as big a deal as it seemed to be, and that people have overplayed their hand. And number two, we've always known about NVIDIA. It's always we've been talking about it for months. The
You
all-in
mean DeepSeek?
podcast, no, on NVIDIA. We've been saying
Oh,
for months that NVIDIA, there was a chance, there's an outlier, there's a possibility that they wouldn't need as many to sell as many chips, or they might have to take their margins down, and that's why the PE has been as low as it has been. I said those things last night. I said those things. And then, of course, today, NVIDIA bounces back like 9 or almost 10% after being down, I guess, 15 yesterday. So that's how I saw it. I read it as being something that's probably positive for the entire industry, something that's useful, but not something that's going to destroy NVIDIA. And probably at this point, we don't even know if it will reduce their sales at all, but it might reduce them a little bit. That's where I am.
okay. So here's my take on this. I'm gonna try to keep my thoughts organized. So pardon me if it comes off a little scattered. So this is all this is scripted. Randy didn't give me these topics ahead of time. I should have known, but I'm also just got out of the Tesla straight onto here. That's why we're an hour late. My fault. I was in other meetings.
No biggie.
Anyways, so okay, so let me level set. I'm gonna take this in two different ways. First, I'm gonna talk about the investment side, and then I want to talk about the technology side. Is that
Okay.
fair, Randy?
Sure.
Okay, so let me cook here for a little bit while I try to put my thoughts out there. Okay, so first let's start with the investment side. On the investment side, I posted about this on X yesterday. Showed you kind or not kind today, Nick. Now let's choose not kind today. Yesterday showed you how stupid the market is, how stupid people are out there, and how stupid people are when they're investing, which means they're not investing. What do I mean by that? People are chasing, people are part of a herd, people haven't done their own research, people aren't doing their own homework, people don't understand what they're invested in. What do you mean by that, Nick? Elaborate. Gladly. So, what we know is that all of a sudden, all of this DeepSeek stuff came out, and everybody got scared based on what this Chinese company is marketing that they've put out, meaning they have a more performant model on a lot less price per GPU, so it's more efficient, all this stuff, yada, yada, yada. It's almost ironic, hypocritical, I don't know what the right word is, that now we choose to believe what some random Chinese company says. Mind you, it was only 2016 when the Chinese had a video circulating where apparently the Chinese took out a U.S. fighter jet, only for us to find out that that was just a clip out of Top Gun. Right? That was only 2016. We know that China has been known for propaganda. We know that China has been known to fund and back a lot of these companies. And for the investment community to all of a sudden just believe every single thing that's coming out of DeepSeek, from, oh, we're only doing this with our hands tied behind our back without any GPUs and all this. It's honestly like, it makes me, I don't know how else to say it, but how stupid are people? Are you really that stupid? I'm here to tell you unequivocally, maybe I have facts, maybe I don't. Either way, I wouldn't be able to share those if I did. They have H100s. They have I forget what they call it, 8800s, which are essentially H100s, first of all. Second of all, it is pretty well known, if you have the right friends, that there's a lot of questionable companies that are buying H100s out of California, shipping to South Korea, and then it's not up to Nvidia to keep track of where things land that end up in China. Like, these are things that are pretty well known. If you, I guess, are in the right circles, maybe. I don't know. Again, I don't want to speak too much on that. But my point is, it doesn't take a lot of intellectual, curiosity, vigor, reasoning to come up with this.
Jeff Lutz.
Jeff
Lutz also says there's a trade that goes through Singapore, that pretty much everything that goes to that part of the world goes through Singapore, and they don't know what happens to it.
There's South Korea, there's Singapore, and there's Vietnam. Those are if you know, you know. Yeah. But those are like the three main routes right now. If they want them, they got them. All right. Like, there's no trade embargo that's going to stop it. Nvidia will do their due diligence to make sure, hey, we shipped it here, we landed here. This shell company or whatever, they're the ones that bought it. It's not my job to follow them after that. We're the vendor. We just sell them. What they do after that, it's not on us. That'd be like asking a gun manufacturer to track what they do with every single gun that they sell. Like, right. He was licensed, he had it. Like, what do you want me to do? Like, the onus ends there. So that's one thing. And there's also the whole, everybody's like so eager to talk about how low cost it is. And maybe this is where I start to jump into, well, okay, let me finish this off. Okay. From the investment side, the fact that everybody all of a sudden freaked out, and not everybody, it was financial news that freaked out. They freaked out like, oh my God, look what this, the Chinese, this is Sputnik moment and all this. Like, I'm sorry, it's not. It's simply not. Are they there? Are they, a couple steps behind us? Yes. But it's been that way. That hasn't changed. It's been that way. Right? But for everybody to freak out all of a sudden, it's almost ironic. It seems like, not to make this political, but it seems like the Democrats are kind of rooting for the Chinese to outpace the United States. And that has its own can of worms. But, it's like I'm watching CNBC, and all of a sudden, Andrew Ross Sorkin, who, when Biden was in office, the guy was almost religious about calling it X every time. Now, all of a sudden, Trump's inaugurated. He can't stop calling it Twitter. And I find it very perplexed. Like, look, I watch Squawk Box every morning religiously since I was a freshman in high school. Right. So trust me, when I tell you I can pick up on when things are changing, I pick up on it. There's something political going on here. So that's interesting. But for the entire financial world to all of a sudden freak out about this, only to, guess what, see everything bounce back today. Guys, like, stop getting played by all these financial experts. All right, let's talk about the tech.
Okay,
Go.
let me have a little caveat here in the middle. Do you think it's also because I think maybe more than any other major stock out there, we the average person, the average investor has no clue about what Nvidia does. I mean, they really don't know what Nvidia does. They don't know what a chip is. They don't know what would make one better or worse. I mean, that's me. I mean, I've spent, I don't know, probably 200, 300 hours now in the last 6 or 7 months because this has become such a big thing, trying to learn as much as I can. But I don't have a computer science degree. I don't have the underlying knowledge that would allow me to, to even, I don't even have the shoulders of giants to jump on. So I think that's going to be true for the what do you call it, the CNBC crowd, which typically don't know what they're talking about anyway, but especially in this case.
Okay, but Randy, look, here's my problem with that statement. There has to be a point where we stop bailing people out based on ignorance when they're the reporters or they're the ones making the news.
I'm not bailing them
Like
out.
you
Just saying
can't
it's
say
true.
like, well, this is a complicated topic. They don't know much. Like we gotta, you gotta cut them some slack because, well, they don't have computer science degrees. Well, I don't care. That's irrelevant.
No, I'm not cutting them slack. I'm saying I'm talking about the fact that they need to me, it would be the opposite. It'd be like, look, I don't really know what I'm talking about. I say it all the time on my channel. I don't really know what I'm talking about here, but I'll give
But
you what little bit I do know, and you can take it from there.
who do they bring on? Is my point. They bring on analysts.
Yeah,
They bring on other fund managers.
yeah,
You don't see them saying, "Hey, let's bring on a couple computer science majors. Let's
yeah,
bring on some
yeah.
computer chip experts. Let's bring on let's reach out to Nvidia to get some." I mean, like you don't see them bringing on actual experts.
They
I don't
literally,
know. It's
they literally have been better off yesterday morning to have brought you, Jeff Lutz, Larry Goldberg, and Brian Wong on. You guys on my channel know more than any of the analysts that they were actually interviewing.
well, even then, it's like, did they even read the DeepSeek papers? Like, did they actually understand what happened? Which let's dive into the tech now. Okay, now listen, I'm I'm just someone who's interested in this. I have a technical background. I'm probably more technical than the average person, but I'm no Andre Kapathy. All
Right.
right. So, like, there's levels to this. Let's keep things 100. Right. So, there's levels to this. But it is disingenuous, in my opinion, for DeepSeek to sit there and claim their efficiency, their cost efficiency with what they're doing as far as what they were able to output, because what they're doing really is something called knowledge distillation. So while they may have been able to do what they produced with less GPUs, meaning in comparison to what Meta had to use or OpenAI had to use, the truth is what they're doing is literally a technique that involves transferring knowledge from a larger, more complex model like what OpenAI has or a llama into a more efficient model.
Mhm.
All right. So with DeepSeek's model, it it looks a lot like OpenAI, for example.
Mhm.
But it's essentially taking those models to show it's so hard to explain. It's using those models as examples, and see, it's hard to explain. Sorry.
Let me say so my understanding would be that if I was running a think tank, and I needed 10 employees in my think tank, 1 for engineering, 1 for biology, 1 for earth sciences, one for atmospheric sciences, one for rocketry, etc. And I had these 10 people and I'm paying all of them all of the time, then so that I can get my questions answered on any given day. And then all of a sudden I decide, you know what, I'm only going to pay them on the days that I have a question for that specific guy.
So that's a whole different part of it. So that's kind of the expert training part of it.
Right.
What I'm talking about is this is before that.
Okay.
The first step is that they're taking these models, and what they're using that as call it the trainer for the existing model. And so the model that's kind of battling those trainers, that model will essentially learn the spirit of OpenAI, the spirit of Llama. So it kind of gets a sense of what things should look like. It's not necessarily mimicking it, but it's pretty damn close to mimicking it, right? It's not necessarily copying it, but it's very similar. And so my point is, with the disingenuous part of like the amount of GPUs and the cost and all that, is that DeepSeek could not have gotten there if it was not for all the work OpenAI did, if all the work Llama did. And so to sit there and say, well, this is all it took me, it's like, no, you have to add up everything else that allowed you to get there.
Right.
And so OpenAI, Llama, Grok, everybody else can be able to do the same kind of thing. So that's one element of it. And even then, with what we see here, it's not. This is going to go back to something I've said, like maybe on every other episode I've ever been on with you, Randy. It's a freaking chatbot. There's a lot of interesting things here. Honestly, I think Meta's doing some of the most interesting things where they're tokenizing phrases versus individual words. I think that's a lot more interesting. But at the end of the day, what DeepSeek did, you wouldn't be able to do that with FSD, for example.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to do it. There's too much complication, especially with FSD is made for the AI hardware that they have. They don't have that open source that anybody can just pull and train off of it. You can't even subscribe to and train on it. Like none of that's in existence. DeepSeek's interesting. They're probably a true player. They definitely have a lot more GPUs than what they claim. They can't claim they have more than that. They would get Nvidia in trouble. They would get in trouble. They would invite investigation. But this has been a complete overreaction. Yeah. A complete overreaction. You saw me in my post yesterday where I yelled at Farzad. I literally posted to his comment saying, "Shut up. I haven't started shopping yet." And obviously it was in jest. I was telling him to shut up. Stop saying what everybody doesn't know yet until I'm done, and then you can go and speak. And as you saw today, there's a rebound. Yes. DeepSeek is not an issue. I love, honestly, the spirit of competition. I honestly want the Chinese to be a serious foe to us. I want that because that's going to make us better. I think iron sharpens iron. Yeah. But to sit there and say all these U.S. companies, and I hate to say it again, but it just seems like it's coming from one political ideology, wants to just sit there and say, oh, while while all these companies were kissing the ring, trying to surpass us. Like, no, shut up. This is stupid. They did not waste their money. They did not waste their investments. The United States is still the leader in AI by far. It's not even close, to the point where what did China do really well? Once again, they took what we did and leveraged that to kind of copy us. That's what they did. And you know what? It was actually really clever what they did. Yeah. And it probably will lead to better results for things that we do. It was clever. You got to give them, you tip your hat to them. That was an interesting move they did. but we can do it too. There's nothing special about it. So I don't know. The overreaction was just crazy. I didn't say anything personally too bombastic out loud because I was like, well, you know what? Someone's going hunting. And I did. I went and I hunted and I ate good over the
You
last
ate good.
48 hours. I did. I
All
did.
right. All right. Good.
But mark my words, this is a nothing burger. We are still leaders by far.
Okay.
And even if this is a future potential serious foe, it's the best thing that could happen to us.
Right, right. Okay. Now that I've got you warmed up, let me tell you my new theory. Well, it's not really new. It's a variation. It's a corollary of what I've been saying for weeks now with regard to Tesla, right at where they are right now. If we beat tomorrow, beat the numbers, beat the street, and Elon is well-spoken and does a good job and is upbeat and all the things that people wanted to be, we will go to 410 on Friday or Monday. We'll be at 480 in February, and we'll be at 550 or more once we get any of the big announcements. Now, if we miss tomorrow, we will go to 390 on Thursday and 410 on Monday, 480 in February, and 550 or so downstream. I don't think it makes a bit of difference 2 weeks from now, or even maybe 3 days from now, what happens tomorrow.
So,
in terms of the old numbers, the EPS, the earnings per share, the margins on the cars, the things that everybody's been paying attention to.
beat or miss, it'll be irrelevant. The numbers won't matter, Randy. It will not matter. Look, barring some, you know what? Even if there's a crazy outlier in the numbers, it's irrelevant. Mark my words. The numbers are irrelevant tomorrow.
All right. We agree.
And I'm saying, like, even if they missed, even if they printed a 14% margin,
right,
it's irrelevant.
Right.
Tomorrow is all about what Elon says, how he answers the questions. That's the earnings call tomorrow. That's it. Is it a buy the rumor, sell the news? Which no one's buying the rumors right now.
Right.
Right now, everybody's just holding on, just being patient. In fact, the rumor has been bought.
Yeah.
The question is, will they sell the news? And those cards are in Elon's hands. It all depends on how much he's willing to tell us.
Okay, so
what he said.
Here's a speed test then. Since we're 100% in agreement on that, let's go through the speed test. Will Elon give us any satisfaction about the Juniper launch numbers tomorrow?
No.
None.
Well, he's going to say that the vehicle has been received really well, that sales are through the roof. He'll say something like that. He won't say specific numbers.
Okay. All right. Will we get a cheer?
You agree?
Yeah.
You agree with that?
That's my general sense. My general sense would be yes.
You can take that one to the bank.
If they're really,
that's exactly what'll happen.
Okay. If they're really, really good, then, I mean, really crazy, then he might.
They've never ever talked about actual numbers with deliveries.
I know. Okay. Will we have a cheerful, positive, excited Elon Musk tomorrow?
1,000%.
Okay. Any believable news about FSD being unsupervised or some update on test cars, miles between safety critical interventions, any of that kind of stuff that would give us some really, really, really strong sense of how we're doing?
Okay. Parts of what you said, yes. Parts of what you said, no. Okay. He will likely talk about how they are already testing things in California. They already have people testing, and he'll probably say something like, I think I've talked about this before, whatever. He'll probably say, based on what we can see from the data, it seems like, in the next quarter will be better than whatever, yada, yada, yada. It'll probably be things like that. That's anticipate. I don't think he'll give us specific numbers. He won't give us miles between interventions. He won't say anything specific.
Okay. What about things like we said it would be 1,000 times better by the end of the year, and then 100 times better in the first quarter? Anyway, will he give that kind of thing that he's done before?
Probably.
Okay. All right.
He'll probably say something like, we ended 2024 with, X amount better, and we think in the next 6 months will be this amount better, or something like that. He'll give a forecast probably.
Okay. Any significant update on Optimus, including clarity on current production, which he's given we've heard the $600 a week. Would he confirm that possibly for the end of the year, or something about deployment into manufacturing, whether they're already coming off a pilot line and going into manufacturing, anything like that might be tomorrow?
No.
No, no, huh? No. What do you
I
think
don't
you'll
think
say
so.
about Optimus? He'll be asked.
I think he'll probably say something like, I think he'll probably deviate the question, talk about, like, oh, I think Optimus, when you really think about it, what is an economy, whatever. And, we think, we're aiming for, a few thousand by the end of this year. And you have to be in, volume production by the end of next year. He'll probably say something like that.
Okay. All right. He'll reconfirm his 1 to
Yeah.
5,000, 50,000, 500,000. Okay. All right. How about any updates on the regulatory processes at the UN, the EU, the US, or the state of California?
No, yes, no. Yes on the US, no on the rest.
Oh, just the US. He'll give us something on the US regulatory theory or plan, or when it'll
I think
happen.
he'll probably give us a little debrief maybe on what Doge is doing to help on this. I think he might give us something if asked.
Oh,
I don't think he'll voluntarily say it.
okay. I think he'll be asked.
So an analyst has to ask.
Okay. All right. But you don't think he'll even talk about I didn't even put China. I didn't put China on that list. He won't give, even if China is like potentially, well, okay, that brings up a separate one, which is similar. What about the China might be, some people are saying a week away from approving FSD. If that's true, or if he knows that's true, would that potentially be a big news break?
If it happens before the earnings call, which would be in the next 24 hours,
Right.
yes. If it is legitimately going to happen in the next day or two, yes. If it's not literally imminent and everything's done, signed, sealed, delivered, I don't think it happens.
All right. Okay.
Because that's there's so much negotiation that happens with that.
Right.
There's so much, like, you know how much egg on his face he would have, like, to say, yeah, it's coming, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, that's embarrassing.
I think what a lot of people don't realize is that they have people, even before he was in, government or whatever he is now, in the commission. They have lawyers and they have regulatory experts in Europe, in China, in California, all of these places, totally with hands-on trying to figure out what's going on, and probably involved, nose to nose with some of these regulators. Because I've done it. I've been at those levels, and not these levels, but the government people will talk to you. A restatement of the 20 to 30% increase in vehicle sales, or something different?
Say that again?
Will he restate the 20 to 30% increase in sales this year, or will he say something new?
If asked, yes, he will. If not asked, it will be in the slide deck.
Oh, okay. All right, but nothing new. You don't expect a change on that, like,
I think it'll be something like, we aim for 50% growth, something like that.
okay, whatever it is. Just, I mean, last time you said 20 to 30. Do you think it would be more than 20 to 30?
I think it will be more. Yeah.
Good, cool. The semi appears to be, looks like they could be making that thing in 90 days.
No one's going to talk about it. It won't even come up in conversation.
It won't even come up. It won't even be in the.
Nope.
Everybody's all excited about making 300,000 model 3.2.5s, but the same amount of profit or more in semi trucks, nobody gives a fig. Okay.
No one cares about energy.
No,
I can't explain it.
well, semi and energy, right? Any announcements about increasing the about increases over the 80 gigawatts of megapacks? You said nobody cares about energy, but right now he said 80 to 100. Do you expect an announcement of a new factory, an expansion of existing factories, or more color on that 80 to 100 for this year?
No on any of them.
No, nothing. Zip, zero. Nothing on energy. Okay.
Nope. You'll get in the deck. They'll probably talk about something about China's giga or megapack factory being built. There'll probably be something to that, but that's it.
Okay. Any confirmation or more information on Model 2.5, also known as Q, also known as the more affordable car?
Okay, now that's interesting. I haven't seen what the latest save questions are as far as what's made it to the top. Ideally, that would be one of them on what the status is of that. If not, I would rely on analysts to ask a question about a status update on that. It'll be interesting to see what the slide deck says about the new vehicles. I believe the current rumor is May.
For
Base
reveal or for production?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know the answer to that.
okay.
I kind of think we just go straight into production. I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know if they would say anything. Because here's the thing: it doesn't benefit Tesla to say anything. It just hurts them.
Uh-huh.
So if someone asked, I would think he would punt on it and say we don't want to talk about product reveals. You know, we're working on more affordable vehicles, whatever. And I could see them punting on it.
Like still within the first half, just kind of confirming what's already been known.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything about I already asked you that kind of. Any kind of positive statement on Cybertruck sales or shipments or pricing, something to give us renewed hope about Cybertruck?
No.
Nothing. Zip. You think it'll be
Nope.
asked? It'll be asked, right?
I don't think it will be.
Really interesting.
I think they'll just talk about how the Cybertruck is the best-selling electric vehicle in the United States after only being out for X amount of time, and stuff like that. That's it.
Okay. All right. Any positive or detailed look at the battery strategy? This would be my number one thing. I've mentioned it a couple of times on this channel already. I would love to have him do a 5-minute riff on the entire battery, where things are and how things are
You're not
working.
gonna like me. You're not gonna like me, Randy. That will not even be said, mentioned, discussed. Period. Not one question will be had. Not one mention of batteries will come up.
You know, the one mentioned, not even the 4680. Wow. Okay. Stating, how about a statement that he's not buying TikTok?
I don't think that comes up.
Oh, you don't think they'll ask him? Wow.
The same way it never came up about Twitter.
He never did. Okay.
They never brought that up.
All right. Any notice regarding the licensing of FSD, preferably an actual deal, close to a deal, anything like that?
My hands are kind of tied on this one. I've already stuck my neck out on
Uh-oh.
this. I don't think there's high odds of this, but I think we get more color on the deal.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. That'd be interesting, especially if the color is something that's worthwhile. How about a production start date estimate on Cybercab?
He'll probably just reiterate the same things.
Okay.
I personally think that they've shifted the schedule left, meaning I think production starts in 2025.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
I I would almost like lock that in for the year. That prediction, I'd almost lock it in.
Ah,
Production will start in 2025.
wow. I
Will
mean,
he say that? I don't know,
okay.
but production for Cybercap starts in 2025. Mark my
Okay.
words.
Okay. All right. Okay. We already talked about that one. Okay. DeepSeek, we already talked. Okay. So those are the questions that I was most interested. Did I leave anything out that you think sh should be asked and answered, or should be asked and might be answered?
So I think the biggest thing that's going to be talked about on this call will be everything you meant. Honestly, like the majority of the questions you asked, I don't think will even be talked or asked about. That's why I kept saying no to all of them. This call will be strictly about FSD. When do we get unsupervised? Are we still on track for California and Texas mid-year? What about the new lower vehicle models? What about subscriptions? That's the call right there. That's the entire call. Depending on what Elon decides to discuss,
Mhm.
elaborate on, the one thing I don't think he'll say much about the new vehicles because one, it doesn't hurt, it only hurts them, doesn't help them, and two, in general, they don't do product announcements on these calls. So what I'm most bullish on is him talking about a potential licensing deal
Mhm.
because he has used these calls to talk about licensing deals.
Mhm.
And he's mentioned in the past that several are interested in. My opinion is that at the moment, it seems like it won't be Ford. At the moment, it seems like it won't be GM. At the moment, it seems like it won't be Rivian. Won't be BMW. Won't be Volkswagen. There's lots of Chinese players out there.
Mhm.
But to me, it seems like Hyundai, Kia
Mhm.
are the most likely. And I feel pretty confident on that one.
Wow, interesting.
Now, I'm not saying that he'll mention that specifically
Right,
on the
right,
call,
right.
but I could see him saying that we are close to finalizing a deal or something like that. I think there's a 20% chance he says something like that. It gives us a little more concrete information. I also think he'll give us a more potentially, if asked correctly, he'll probably say something that we're still on track to start, you know, robotaxis, unsupervised drives in Texas and California, depending on regulations. I could see that. I think that's the needle mover. That's the call right there. Like that's you want to know what the stock's gonna do? It's that.
All right. And so, by the way, my three favorites are Ford, Hyundai, and BYD. Those are the three that I think are the most likely. Like you, I particularly like Hyundai because they have manufacturing in the U.S. And they're ramping up that big factory. And if those cars don't sell, if you read what AJ's been saying about Hyundai's overall position, if those factories do not crank, could really hurt Hyundai.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything he said about it.
yeah. He's AJ's just been talking about their balance sheet is not that great. Their free cash flow is not that great. He's he tends to be a little bit negative on the competition legacy automakers, but he's been particularly hard on Hyundai. And this they've spent a lot of money in the United States on these new electric car factories. So
Mm,
I think they would benefit maybe the most.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. It's I so look, the reason I'm even sticking with that is because I mentioned this earlier in December.
Uh-huh.
But if I'm being completely honest, over the last, I don't know, 2 weeks, my sentiments kind of changed on the whole licensing thing.
Hmm.
I'm at a point where I think that all these OEMs genuinely don't see what's happening. And it makes me think that there's a chance that none of them ever license this, and they just completely miss out on it. And I guess the point where Tesla says like, "Yeah, we'll license it to you, but it's gonna be so cost prohibitive for you, and it's gonna take you so long. Like, what's the point?"
Yeah.
But like, if you want, yeah, we'll do it. So we won't be called a monopoly. But that's what I see. So, but that all depends on them getting, Cybercab out there and production, all that. But I mean, I, I, the way I see it, FSD is at. You want your steak medium, and it's at medium rare. That's where it's at. Like
Oh, yeah.
we're right there.
Right there. Yeah.
It's about you're about to stick a fork in it because it's about to be done.
Well, good, good.
And just look on X and see what the Tesla AI engineers are saying. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and if you don't have 13, you got to go drive it. You got to go experience it. It's like nothing else.
I don't know, some kind of a post the other day, you're going to be shocked, might have
Yeah.
given us some indication of how enthusiastic they are over there.
And keep in mind, like they're they're testing robotaxi. They're actively testing it with their
Yeah.
own employees. Like there's so much like little nuance that they're working on that we don't even see yet. It's
One thing we do see is that the cyber cabs at Austin are now driving the loop with no follow cars.
oh really? I
Oh
missed that
yeah,
completely.
they're just going around the loops and doing all these things with no passenger and no follow car. So they're just generating tons and tons and tons of data.
Where'd you see that, Joe?
Yeah, but last couple of days, yeah.
I'll check that out. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah. So, do you have anything else before I go to the numbers?
Um, no, let's go to numbers because anything else I want to talk about would be in the numbers.
Okay, all right, let's take a look. So let's start with the Dow, which was up 136. NASDAQ was up 391. S&P was up 55, and Tesla ended up the day up 94 cents. I mean, wow. So we got into the green for the first time since the inauguration. The rest of the Magnificent Seven was well up, including Apple, which has been on a tear the last few days, up $8.40 today. That's 4%. So, I mean, I've been reading stuff about Apple, and it was kind of beat down, in the last few weeks, and then all of a sudden it's done this turn. This turn, people are saying that they've done it right. They didn't make this huge investment in chips, and they'll just do the inference right.
Yeah.
You don't look convinced.
I oh, I would just say don't bet against Nvidia.
Okay. All right. So the rest of the Magnificent Seven was in the green. The Kathy Woods were mixed. Kathy Wood was on a program tonight, by the way. It was really good if you could find it. I won't be even able to put it down in the notes, but she gave a nice talk tonight about how she sees things right now. I've just messed up my entire thing here. Let's go to the bonds. The bonds finally are going in the right direction. We are down another 2.3 in the pre-market to 4.526. I think we're going to be looking at under 4.5 here shortly. Thoughts?
Well, I think the whole market is kind of oddly on edge before tomorrow with the Fed. It's not so much we know there's not going to be a rate cut, but the market is on edge for Jerome Powell's answer to the question about Trump pressure, like just the Trump questions. Tomorrow, that's what it's all about.
Some people have been saying, a few people, not very many, but a few people are saying that he would have a lot of respect for the new Treasury Secretary. and that the new Treasury Secretary is probably whispering in his ear and saying, I'm really, 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 really going to make sure that we get the fiscal house in order. And here's what I'm going to do. And this would give Chairman Powell a lot of ability to relax. And since I think that Chairman Powell is a known Republican or conservative, Chairman Powell might even be able to whisper back, well, if that's what you're going to do, then we can be a little more relaxed in terms of what we say.
Not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow, huh? Okay.
Not tomorrow. The Fed does nothing without forecasting.
Okay, without seeing well, okay. So they're seeing pretty good numbers across the board. The consumer confidence and consumer sentiment came in light, but I have a feeling that they came in light because the government workers are probably going, I don't know what's going to happen to my job.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's be honest. Inflation's on an uptrend.
Tiny.
Regardless, it's on an uptrend. In the last 6 months, we have not been on a downtrend. We've been on an uptrend. Now, that's what's happening. And I want to bring that up because the Fed makes decisions based on what's happening, supposedly.
Right.
But in reality, they make decisions based on whatever the bond market tells them to. But they would never say that. But what I fear, like my fear, is that, like, in my opinion, they should be cutting. I think they should be cutting maybe another 100 basis points. Maybe that's the wrong number, but they need to be cutting, in my opinion, because I think that they are completely missing what's happening in the rental and housing market. And the rental and housing market is a huge lagging indicator. And I think if you were to factor that into real time, you would see that we are probably at 2 or sub 2.
Yeah.
Just my thoughts.
Yeah, well, the rental market in particular. Now, housing has slipped from about 6% increases to about 4% increase, but rentals, we're starting to see it's the negative.
California is dropping crazy. Texas is dropping crazy. Florida's dropping crazy.
The numbers out this morning said 4%. And I think that's what you're going to see in 2025 also, because now the interest rates are coming down, mortgages will be coming down, and people have to have a place to live.
I don't know. I think what numbers came out today?
Schiller.
I don't remember exactly how Schiller gets their numbers, but
top 20 cities.
But off of what, last 30 days pricing? Or
I think it was December, but it could be that could be a lagging. That might have been November.
That's kind of what I was getting at, is that I think it's lagging. My point is I'm looking at real time. I've looked in California. I've looked at I'm constantly on I'm a Zillow SLUT for the kids at home. I'm constantly on Zillow looking around, around the country to see, what's out there. Everyone's dropping prices. There is so much inventory out there. It's insane. And it's only getting higher.
Okay. This would be maybe we do a whole show on this sometime, because, this is an area where I have some expertise as well. And I've only written a couple of books on it. And from my standpoint, the inventories, which are, yes, bigger than they were last year, are still historically ridiculously low. I mean, just super, super low, and hardly anything coming on stream. I mean, in terms of residential homes.
But you got to take it with a grain of salt, Randy, because the amount of buyers out there, few. The amount of houses out there, more than buyers right now.
Well, it's also winter.
It's
normal.
Forget about winter. It's the interest rates.
Well, no, interest rates impacted also, but it's winter. This is not when people buy homes. They buy homes
irrelevant
in a couple of months.
Randy, if interest rates were at 4%, people would be buying homes left and right.
Yeah, yes.
Irrelevant of the time of year. But we're going up. We're at higher interest rates than when the Fed cut.
No, they were at 8.
We're at 7-8%. When we were at 6.56.
Yeah, we're now high 6s now. Yeah.
My rate's at 6. I bought in December of 2023.
Right, but 6 is normal. That's the average over
No,
the
this,
last
oh, that's
150
not
years.
normal. No, that you know what that is? That's people who bought houses in the 80s and 90s saying, "Oh, well, that's normal because we're averaging all this out." No, that's not normal over the last 20 years. It is not.
No, in the last 20 years, no, but for the last 100, okay,
Well, last
we're going to
hundred,
run out
last
of,
hundred,
yes. If you take,
over the last 100 years, nothing's normal if you look at it that way. Energy prices, cell phone prices, like insurance prices, like
okay, the mortgage rates at the 6% level, people will have adjusted to the 6%. They didn't adjust up going back to 8, but they have adjusted to the 6s. And when they get back in the middle 6s, I don't think there'll be any question about that. That won't be the reason they don't buy.
I disagree. I think you're going to see a spiral. I think you're going to see disinflation happen.
All right.
You're going to see people say, well, I might as well wait a little longer. I might as well wait a little longer. There's plenty of houses. Rates are going to keep coming down. Why would I buy now? I'm going to keep waiting. I don't want to get underwater.
All right. Here's one place where I'll give you some due. Okay. If you don't have more immigrants coming in, and in fact, you have immigrants going out, okay, then you have a situation where everything in the margins shifts. So you don't have the pressure on the rentals at the low end, and then you don't have the pressure on the rental. So that, it just creeps right up. Every single place in the margins, you get more supply and because you have less demand, and it just moves right up. So whether that can happen in months rather than years, I don't know, but that will have an impact on how people.
I'm telling you, that's happening right this second. That's happening right this second. You're not going to see it reflected for 6 months. It takes 6 months for it to show up in the numbers, or in end of January. Watch August, September, you're going to see it. And it's going to be painful. You're going to be like, what the hell just happened? And we're going to forget about this conversation. I'm like, Randy, didn't I say this back to you? And you'll be like, oh, I don't remember.
It'll all still be online if you want to look it up.
Yeah, but we won't go back and we'll be like, well, we do so many episodes every week. Like, I don't remember what week that was. But it's happening now. I'm telling you, like, the state that is a leading indicator, the state that will fluctuate ahead of time before the rest of the market is Florida. I'm telling you, I'm seeing it.
Okay.
It is everywhere. You guys want to buy a house? Florida.
Florida.
Okay. So much inventory right now. I'm telling you, it's insane how much inventory there is.
Las Vegas is also a leading indicator. You should probably be looking at Las Vegas as well. Oil coming down, continuing to come down, only 1 cent in the pre-market, but it's at 73.76. I think last week when we talked about it, it was like 79 or something. So we've come down a ton just in a week. We talked about that to death last week. We've got natural gas coming down another 4% in the aftermarket or pre-market, $3.33. It was over $4 when you and I were on last Tuesday. Gold continuing up. It hit a high of 27.95. I think it's now at 27.72. So inching up towards that all-time high again. Copper falling a little, and Bitcoin 1347 up for the day, 102,000, kind of in the middle of its new range. Any commentary?
Oil's going down to 65. When I don't know, but it's going down to 65. Crypto goes down to 80.70.
Wow, 80.
Or Bitcoin. Bitcoin goes. I shouldn't say crypto. That sounds ignorant. Right. Bitcoin's going down to 70, 80.
Oh, to 70,000 or 80,000 in that range.
Yeah.
Okay, and then bounces.
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay, but but that way, that's you're feeling it'll go that way initially.
Yeah, but keep in mind that could also mean Tesla goes down to 360.
I see. Okay, I would not ever be shocked it goes down to 360. But you're saying that would be an overall collapse, maybe a general.
No, not collapse. I think it's pretty normal for Bitcoin. This Bitcoin could go down to levels. Tesla could still go up, right? I mean, they're not tied to each other. But I guess the way I'm looking at it is we're going into a time of year where there's no reason for the market to go up. Mm-hmm. We're going to a time of year where February, March, is normally kind of like the lull
Mm,
in the market.
mm,
Tesla could buck that based on what Elon says on
right,
the earnings call.
right.
It's possible. Not sure it's likely. I feel Bitcoin I have less confidence in. I feel like Bitcoin has just shown its weakness. Um, you could say Tesla has too, but Tesla can actually have a catalyst.
Right,
If Elon just says a couple concrete things, a couple bullish things, there's no one to talk about Bitcoin in that sense.
right, right.
And the truth is there's only so much supply of money. And if it's going to flow into Tesla,
Yeah.
I think it comes from places like Bitcoin. I think it comes from places like Nvidia, from Microsoft, from Meta. But there's only so many dollars out there. So,
All right.
I mean, you got dollars on the sideline too. So who knows? But
Yeah, true. Equities for tomorrow morning. It says here, Dow down 34 or 0.08%. S&P down 525 or 0.08%. Look at that. And the NASDAQ down 1475 or 0.07%. So they are in lockstep today, all showing a little bit off, if we can believe that it has anything at all to do with what will happen tomorrow morning. So,
well,
so
honestly,
much
this
happening.
is. I love looking at the pre markets. I love looking at Robinhood to see what's happening in
Right.
the aftermarkets. But the truth is, with tomorrow being Fed Day and tomorrow being Tesla earnings.
And not just Tesla, Microsoft and Meta
Oh yeah.
and Apple
Um,
and Apple on Thursday.
yeah. You literally don't have to do anything. Like you don't have to look, is what I'm saying, because it's whatever happens tomorrow up until 2 o'clock is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Come 2 o'clock, the fun starts.
Right, right, exactly. Very true, very true. All right, last words of wisdom.
Yeah. Last words of wisdom. I talk about this a lot on this channel with Herbert and Brian, with Farzad and Hans, about this idea of kind of being a contrarian. Um, yesterday everybody freaked out, and I took the other side of it. I think it was this time last week, Randy. I finally remembered. I was telling you that I think the market's going to go down. You know what it was? Actually, I was saying this to you after the inauguration. I feel like that it's going to go down, but everybody thought the market was going to go up. Everyone was convinced that coming out of that weekend that the market was going to rip, and sure enough, it didn't. I would just say, not investment advice or anything, but try and maybe paper trade in your own mind, taking the other side of what seems like everyone thinks is going to happen. I think you'll be interested. I think you'll find interesting what type of what you learn from that, because
So
the
yeah,
market is really good at sussing this stuff out.
yeah. You and I are 100% in agreement. However, I almost never trade on that. When I was doing day trading, I did a little bit. I traded on that contrarian idea, but because of my optimism, I find it so hard to trade, even when I'll tell you right now, I think that, I said 10 days ago, bonds are way past their skis. The interest rate, the yields are way higher than they need to be, and bonds will be coming down. I should have bought. I'd already be a winner, and I would continue to win. I believe they're going down to 375. So I'm a constant contrarian in that regard, but I never play it.
Well, it doesn't mean you have to, but it could be the difference between, do you DCA today or tomorrow?
Right, right, right.
It could be that something as simple as that.
I am buying Tesla in the morning.
Are you?
Yep. I'm adding in the morning.
Yeah, I've been buying leaps. I've been buying leaps.
But I'm buying also.
Oh, are you?
Yes.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit. I know you got to go, but
Oh,
let's
we
talk about
gotta
it a little
go. No, we've had our hour. They won't even watch. If it goes an hour and 5 minutes, no, I'm kidding.
bit. This is the part where everyone's like, "Oh no, that's what we want to hear." Let's talk about that, guys.
You know, I buy out of the money. I buy as high as the highest out of the money I can, and you know, and as far out as not as far out. I'm buying. I think I'm looking at a
December
March.
2027.
I think I'm looking at March 26 actually. Uh,
Okay. Oh, I'm further than you then.
seven
Mine
six
are all
seven
June
fifty.
2026.
Yeah, yeah. No, I already have some 2026s and stuff. No, I'm sorry, March 26. Did I say 25? March 26. I've already got some July 26. I'm buying this particular time. It looks like I'm buying a March 26 for like 800, like an 800 or something, 750.
That's bullish.
But I'm never gonna be there. I won't be there 3 months from now. I'll have collected my $10,000 or $50,000, whatever it is, and
Yeah, I hear you.
so what did you buy?
I've got I mean I'm kind of scaling on it, but I've got everything centered around June 2026. I've got some 550s from 520s, some 480s, some 470s. So as Tesla goes down, I keep bringing it down.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So you're an in the money guy, and I'm an out of the money guy. There you go.
that's not in the money. That's out of the money.
Technically, it's out, barely
There's no technically or not technically. It's just in or out.
All right. As always, it's been totally fun for me. I hope it's been fun for you guys because, you know, that's who pays the bills here. Um, Brian White will be back later tonight. We'll be talking about tomorrow. We'll be talking about, you know, actually, we'll be talking about a theory with regard to the new Gen 2.5 vehicle that's making the rounds right now. I should have brought it up with what is your name again? Nicholas. But
I
I
forget.
just ran out of time. All right. Thank you, Nick. To all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.